Good morning, everybody. Today is September 17th, 2018. It's MMA Junkie Radio's pre-show, the show before the show. I'm Goz, that's Dan. The voice you hear in your head, that's Danny Okers.
That's me.
How's everybody's weekend?
Mine was pretty chill. Did some dog sitting. Was Lord of the Dogs for a second, and
you shouldn't sit on dogs, Dan.
Nothing too crazy really to report on. What about you guys, Danny?
I need to address something Danny said. Danny, that was the lowest hanging fruit of a joke. He's gonna call you on it. Kind of respect you a little bit for taking it, just because it was so out of the box that like I have mixed emotions right now. Part of me wants to stab you, and the other part is like, well, I guess. I mean, it's Monday.
It's not my best work. I'm sliding into Monday. I went out drinking last night instead of Saturday night, so I'm a little...
We get delirious, Danny? Is that what you're saying?
A little bit. A little bit. Because of the bus system, it's so infrequent heading home on Sunday nights that I discovered. I waited at Port Authority for over an hour and did not get home until almost 3 a.m. Yeah.
I want to go back to something. So after I stab you, I think Dan, because I stabbed you, doesn't have the right to stab you again. But I could see him dropping like a bag of quarters on your head or something.
You know, I always feel like I'm to blame because I feel like over my
I feel like then I get paid.
I feel like over my 1 year tenure, I've negatively influenced you guys both to where like you will catch yourself laughing, even sometimes occasionally making jokes you wouldn't normally have made because the old Dan Tom. You know what I'm saying? So I also feel like I'm partially to blame for it, so I can't pile on.
Dog sitting. Don't sit on a dog. Oh my god. It's Monday.
It goes downhill from here, guys.
What did you say earlier that was so weird?
That wasn't even drop worthy.
Told me like, hey, can you pick a song, Friend Goes, or something? Call me Friend Goes.
I wanted to see what you did. It was also from a long pause of silence between the two of us. Like you were doing something over there and I was doing something over here, and then I just went, "Can you pick a song for My Friend Goes?"
If I were in the middle of a sneeze, I would have stopped the sneeze. That's how confused I was.
Stop. Ooh.
And those are impossible to stop.
My
body would have stopped. If something's wrong here, it needs to be addressed. Friend Goes. Sounds like a Martian.
I think you just asked me to just get back from the moon or something.
What if we got it all wrong in Hollywood and Martians don't really talk stupid like that? They're just more chill. Okay, Earthling.
We're coming up. Stand by.
Ground control to Major Tom.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goz.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goz. Our ace co-host to my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. And back east, producing like always, it's Danny Otto from the band automatic 254. 252?
3.
253. 253. 253. I knew it. What's up, guys?
You goofing that up
Happy
is going
Monday.
to set me back about 2 months before I can get it right ever again.
That was a
'cause I
purposeful.
always get
That was
it
a
wrong.
purposeful get it wrong. I know about this guy, man. I know about him.
253.
I think Dan and I are wearing opposite headphones. I think Saturday we may have crisscrossed. Not swords, just headphones. And yeah, I think so. Right, Dan?
Is that what's going
I
on?
think so. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I power through anything. Guys, what you think of the Russia show? Or you want to go the route of boxing because that was a classic.
Oh, man, I'd rather go the route of boxing. Nothing against the Russia show. It was good.
Let's do the
It
main
was
event,
okay.
and then we'll fall back on Canelo and Triple G. Alexi Oleinik submitted Mark Hunt rather easily.
Somewhat,
I hate
right?
saying it like
he
that.
took a
'Cause
big shot.
fucking fans and fighters will start saying, you're being a hater. But I don't know. I thought Mark Hunt had acquired a little bit more submission defense over the years. It seemed like I've seen other fighters definitely either get out of the submission or fight off the submission and at least get to the end of the round or the end of the fight or whatever. And that was that. I mean, look, I know the other guy's good, and I know we did a main event preview about 7 days ago, and I said something along the lines of, if the fight hits the ground, we might be in some trouble. But I really felt like Hunt still, had some skills, some survival skills. That's all we want. We don't want him to submit Oleinik. That's not really what we're looking for, but just survival skills. And he had such a great game plan along the way. He was kicking out that calf. I think he had 3 or 4 solid kicks. He was taking out that lead leg. He had put some damage on him, a couple big right hands. And you could tell by Oleinik's face there was on his side. And on Mark Hunt, there was like, yeah, what's up?
Step in a step,
like
right?
a shimmy, right? So there's that momentum sway. But, hey, man, Oleinik's tough. A lot of it's mental as well. It's a long fight. Anything can happen, and something did happen. And we have a slight upset. I mean, Hunt was just a minor favorite. Depending on what house you shop at, you may have even gotten him at Pick'em or maybe something in the Oleinik side. But Oleinik won. Kudos to him. 4 of his last 5.
I think they both had opportunities where the best case scenario in the fight happened for them. You know, Hunt hit him with a pretty big right hand.
Yeah.
And he just kind of shook it off. And he was landing that kick over and over. So he had time where Oleinik was in front of him, which is what he wants. He just wasn't able to put him away. On the flip side, when Oleinik finally got him on the ground, he capitalized. And that's what the sport's all about.
Do you remember when I said it may have been either the breakdown or just throughout the week as we were looking forward to the card that Hunt is one of the masters of the walk-off, if not the master? Do you remember there was a sequence where he hit him, and there's a lot of fighters that'll sprint to the fighter and then either do the follow-up, and I know Hunt's probably thinking, ooh, I don't want to jump in guard because that would be foolish if I do and then get submitted. But when somebody's rocked, sometimes you'll see a lot of guys that are strikers take their chances, play in safe quarters, and maybe get some sort of a finish, Plus, you can maybe even catch them as they're getting up. But I saw that, and I saw hesitation, and I'm wondering if that right there may have cost them, or just throughout your career, not being a fighter that's comfortable to get in someone's guard like that, could that moment have cost him years later, throughout his career?
What's so weird is he's actually gotten better. Like, it was way worse years before back in Pride. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it probably cost him the fight. I honestly think things did work out for him. He just wasn't able to capitalize when he had the moment. That kind of happens.
It was like a hesitation slash could this be a walk-off? But it wasn't enough, and Oleinik got up, and then the fight continued. But God, we got a lot of decisions, so I was happy we got a couple finishes to end the card.
It was just a weird the reason why I didn't want to jump into it right away was because you're right. It was kind of weird to just get into it.
It was 5 days ago too, right?
A little bit.
Saturday morning, but then we go through our college football and
pro football, all that stuff. Like,
and then we get to the fight that night, and that's why it feels like it was 5 days ago. And then that fight was so epic, the boxing match between Triple G and Canelo Alvarez is what we're talking about, that all of a sudden this was like, okay, let's have fun on Monday. Let's do some recapping, but nothing like the previous week with UFC 228, where we went Wednesday, Thursday deep, still talking about what should we do with Woodley, what should we do with this guy and that gal, what'd you think of this, what'd you think of that, and all of a sudden, I think the big topic, and we'll cover it in our daily debate, was Joanna and the Russian reporter.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, when I come in on Monday morning and I go through my social media, usually if it's a really good card, most of what I'm reading has to do with that. And I was kind of shocked how this morning, a lot of it had to do with football. My football is just a beast. It was football this, football that. A little bit of Triple G still and Canelo.
Yeah.
But the card just kind of got buried. Like I don't really think I read too much of people with opinions or anything. I think it's kind of we turn the page and we move on to the next one. And part of that probably has to do with Khabib and Conor, right? I mean, people just want to get to that. And sometimes the cards that they have before those get overshadowed a little bit by some of that stuff. But I mean, it was a decent card. It wasn't bad, but the pacing of it kind of bored me a little bit. But the fights were good.
Jan Blachowicz defeated Nikita Krylov in the co-main event. We got another finish there. Again, it was either me or I could have sworn it was like all decisions all day. And so it was nice to end there. 2 upsets. Of course, I got them wrong. I played the other side. In fact, I took a bath on Saturday, man, with my picks. Horrible. Well,
all around.
I looked at the stat picks. I think we all did horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would have had to be pretty savvy to just go 2-2. But so I pretty much got hammered, and maybe that's why I wanted to forget the card more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But
sometimes it ain't clicking.
I was not the comeback Krylov was looking for, and Blachowicz is another guy that snuck in a little run. I think it's a 4 out of 5 run as well. So much so that I had to do a double take when I saw that the UFC rankings have him at number 4. I think that's a bit generous, but either way.
And he doesn't want to fight anyone below him.
Yeah, win, and I think he uttered the letters DC. Who knows? But good on him. His job is to go out there and win, and so is Oleinik's, and he did. I checked on that over-under. I think it was Dan from Oregon. Somebody said, will there be more than 15,000, or will there be more than 7 Russian wins? There was 22,000. I got the numbers here. Let me give you the exact number.
I know I voted for over on both of them when you asked.
Did you?
I think you pulled us all, didn't you?
I think so, yeah. 22,603. So good for you, Russia. 1,840,000 was the gate. And I think I counted 8 Russians. And I had to go back and check and just to make sure, fool, are you from Kazakhstan or are you from the Ukraine? I wanted to make sure they were Russian. And I also wanted to make sure there wasn't no Russian versus Russian, where that's the easy way out. Mm-hmm. But no, they definitely passed that.
I have a stupid question.
What's up?
Where's
Kazakhstan?
Was that real or? It's not, right?
Uzbekistan's
Kazakhstan. Real.
I may have comboed Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan and just made a country up.
We should just make fighters from there when we don't know.
Kazakhstan? What did I say?
You said Kazakhstan.
Oh.
That should be a place.
Gefilte fish? What did I say?
Gefilte fish.
All right. I thought that was a good foray into Russia. It wasn't a pay-per-view card or anything, and I think technically it was their 4th biggest. I think it was their 4th biggest audience ever, and that would be behind Melbourne, Toronto, and I think
it's another Canadian card.
And Sao Paulo. Remember Curitiba. They had 40-some thousand there at that stadium when Stipe knocked out Verdum. Yeah. So this 22,000, I think, exceeds the 21,000 or so that used to show up over there at Montreal. I think that Bell Center or whatever has a big audience. But anyway, just to round out here, Shamil Abdurakhimov defeated Andrei Arlovsky by decision. Alexei Konchenko defeated Thiago Alves by decision. That was your main card. We'll go back to the prelims a little bit. We'll also talk about Joanna versus the Russian journalist. We'll talk about Herb Dean and the controversial stoppage that he had, some bonus talk and all that. But I am chomping at the bit. Canelo and Triple G.
Great fight.
Yeah.
Really, really good fight. Very close.
Have 12 rounds ever been harder to score? Was it me, or was almost every round pretty close?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were only a few that I think you could firmly say it was that guy's round. But even then, even the commentary team and then the guys on the outside, they had different scores.
Right.
They're on social media. Other people were scoring it really different. It was really a nightmare to score. I scored it for Triple G. I could have stomached a draw. And if I had to give it to Canelo, it would be very, very slight. And I would even feel weird about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But those people that are saying Canelo won the fight convincingly, I have to disagree.
So would I. I think 115, 113, which represents 7-5, Canelo, Triple G, or just the draw is pretty accurate. Once you get into 8-4, I would start to say, well, why don't you and I sit down and see? Let's see what we're both looking at. But then again, I just said that every round was close. I mean, they were close, but I think you could still pick out a winner. Who knows, man? I don't want anyone to say that's boxing, because it's not boxing. That's just two great fighters going out there, doing their thing, and making it tough for the judges. But the judges do have the best view in the house. You can't take that away from them. Others can argue, well, I've trained, in judging or reffing, or I've been a cornerman and I know what to look for, and this, that, whatever. But a judge could still maybe have an argument. I've still judged more than you have.
Yeah.
And I know how to interpret the criteria better than you do.
But those particular styles are a recipe for a nightmare for a judge, because you're counting on just the jab over and over that Triple G was landing, and then he would follow it up with a 1-2 every now and again versus Canelo's power shots, and then a lot of people just don't score body punches the way they should, and Canelo lands those over and over. So you look at the jab, that sometimes people don't really score too well, and the body shots. It was a nightmare to score, but I still think people in the know could have told you.
Canelo was the aggressor too. He was the aggressor. He was backing up Triple G, and
Triple G seemed
Triple G had the more damaging blows. I thought, like when he hit Canelo and wobbled him, not that it was like, oh my God, he's about to fall down. It wasn't nothing like that, but still, when he caught him, I thought he had more of those blows than Canelo did. But I thought Canelo just over time had more of the damaging shots, or they call them significant strikes. Just nothing that really rocked, I guess, Triple G. But wow, what a fight. They went all the way to the end, and just a great night for boxing, a great day of combat sports.
Did you give your score?
For Triple G? Yeah. 115, 113. So 7-5 rounds I had for Canelo. For Triple G over Canelo.
That's how I had it too. I don't think we had a matching score. I remember seeing your scorecard on Twitter. I remember you were kind of strong for Canelo in the early rounds. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're giving him more credit, and I think I may have varied from you, but I was with you with a lot of it too. And then obviously I ended up with the same score. You could take a bunch of different ways to get there. Could have seen a draw. I think an average. I think it's safe to say that like 6 of the rounds could be considered swing rounds legitimately. Depending on the perspective. But I was with you guys. I was surprised to not see Triple G being the one pressuring. I mean, he was out crafting him with the left hand, but the whole question in my head was it enough? And he was smart because he seemed tired, but also maybe he was reserving for those late round rallies. And there was a lot of rounds where it felt like Canelo early and maybe Triple G a little later. But yeah, I'm glad they scored the body punches, and I wonder if that, even though boxing and they scored defensive fighting much better than MMA, obviously, still you have to imagine a guy coming forward, being aggressive, looking like he's landing the harder shots. Though really, Triple G was, if you look at what you were watching, he was landing quality shots the whole night too. But again, we're talking about visual perception, and he's throwing variety, right? Canelo's, digging to the body with left hooks. He's going over the top as well as throwing jabs.
Beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
he
really.
He did a lot of different things. I mean,
just did a lot.
Even the times he missed, Canelo looked good.
Yeah.
But you're right. Whether it was the body, the head, whether it was the hook, he's not much of a straight puncher. His countering looked beautiful. He was making Triple G feel bad about some of those draws he was getting answered. So Triple G needed to feint, jab, 1-2. When he was doing that, he was able to get through a little bit, but it looked like Canelo had a good beat, and so I think it messed up Triple G a little bit. But I don't want to make excuses. I mean, that's what the judges said. I'm with it. I just think that if they fight again, and I really certainly do hope they do, not to say that neither guy wasn't going for the knockout, but I think that's really the only way you can assure yourself of a win.
Yeah.
Like they have to almost leave it out. Like whatever gas tank they had left in the next fight, they have to make sure that gets exhausted. Because otherwise, you're just going to sit there and just wait for the people to decide your fate. Those guys are very evenly matched. The only thing Canelo has on his side is he's younger. So every time we have to wait. Like if they wait till May 5th of next year, that's going to be, time. And that was some mileage taken off each guy too. But again, it's going to be the effect is going to be seen more on Triple G's because he's older.
Jones DC asks, I'm sure you want to move on, but just one last thing. They said the scorecards came down to round 12. I guess it decided it. How did you guys score the last round?
And two guys had it for Canelo, and that's one round that I thought was one of the easier ones to decide for Triple G. But
that's how I scored it too. But just curious.
Yeah. Did you remember a mental score? Or?
I don't remember. I scored it mentally.
I mean, if those guys give it to Canelo,
I remember at the end thinking he won by 2 rounds.
All it would have done was just given the draw, because it would have been a majority draw. 2 guys would have ended with a draw, and the other guy would have been in favor of Canelo. No, he already scored it for Canelo. How crazy would that have been? Another draw.
Yeah, I mean, either way, even with what you have now, you still got to do it again. And then what if Triple G wins? Now you got to do it a 4th time. But who cares if they're entertaining fights? You just watch them, right?
I think when the pay-per-view numbers come back, they're going to be so staggering. I think both guys would be willing to fight each other, unless there's just another star out there that needs to be thrown in the mix. But I don't think they would actually mind it, because it's a lot of money, man.
But that's a hell of a toll that they take on each other in both fights. More so the second fight. I love that both cornermen had to kind of ground their fighter because of the adjustments that the other fighter made from the first fight. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but somebody had asked a question if we could only watch the Triple G Canelo fight or Conor Habib, which will we watch. And it was a tough one, but I did go with this fight for that particular reason. I felt like more adjustments could be made here, and we could have a better fight. Versus the other one, whoever wins, I feel it's going to be a landslide either way. That's what I meant.
I think it's a good point too, because a lot of people, I think a lot of, I don't know how you guys' timeline is, or the people you watch fights. Thankfully, I was watching a different broadcast language and without people around me, so there was an influence. But on the Twitter timeline, saw a lot of MMA fans going, hey, what's everybody getting so excited about? And is this boxing on MMA's, and because no matter what, you're always going to get that from both sides. The MMA versus boxing argument when it doesn't need to be, and I will say, you kind of bring up that point there where it goes is, there's not submissions or kicks or crazy head kick knockouts in a Triple G versus Canelo 2, what we saw or what we're talking about. But that tactics and adjustments, there's very few fights that we get to see in MMA that allows for that, because MMA is so crazy, because there's only 3, sometimes 5 rounds if it goes that long. So you have to keep in mind it's a different gear and it's a different type of appreciation. Because I don't think there's a lot of people like us, because we all kind of grew up with boxing in our houses, right, before MMA. And I'm on that cusp, but I'm with you guys there. So I think we have that appreciation for it, whereas I think there's a lot of newer fans that kind of just, they get attracted to MMA because of the spectacle, and then they're like, what is this boxing nonsense? And I think it's a fair argument right there. It's a different gear.
Yeah, no doubt. Just the other day we were calling Muay Thai, and we on Sportsmaster, right?
Yeah.
And when there were times where you could just tell, okay, both guys were there, they could hurt each other. I caught myself wondering, well, it looks like this guy's got the ability to take down. He's got some strength or some strength in the clinch, and so it left me like, ooh, I want a little bit of grappling thrown into these fantastic Muay Thai practitioners. And I think the MMA fan, when they see boxing, they're wondering the same thing. Like, oh, but if it goes to the ground, or what would happen on the ground? So yeah, there is going to be a generation that just misses that.
Yeah.
Because they haven't really grown up with it and seen it. And I think it's hard to turn back the clock when you get something so raw and so primal like MMA.
Yeah.
Because everything's at your disposal.
Yeah.
Imagine if they had seen Pride.
What's so great about it, though, is like who were highlighted, right? Triple G and Canelo, and they were highlighted for months. And so when they go away, you don't forget about them. They're not easy to forget. In MMA, you could take the main event fighters, and Mark Hunt and Oleinik, they will get forgotten by the casual fan. This next fight's going to come by.
Yeah, we already got Sao Paulo.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in boxing. That's kind of a cool advantage that they have. But yeah, I thought it was a great night for boxing. I really did.
Speaking of Sao Paulo, one of our guests today will be Sam Alvey. He's fighting in Sao Paulo on Saturday at the UFC Fight Night 137 card, I believe this is. And at the top of that main event, there's been a little bit of a shakeup. Jimmy Manna was already in Brazil, and I guess while he was out there doing a run or some light training, he tore his hamstring. So he won't be able to fight. Eric Anders steps up. Eric Anders will be moving from middleweight to light heavyweight to fight Thiago Santos. If you'll recall, Thiago Santos is subbing in for Glover Teixeira, because it was originally Manuel versus Teixeira. So now So now we have basically a brand new main event. But I do want to ask Alvey, hey, since you've been fighting at light heavyweight, could that have been you? Should that have been you? Were you ever in the talk? We'll see what's up with that. We'll be calling him internationally. Thanks again to SiriusXM for allowing us to do that. And then we'll also talk to Kaitlyn Chookagian. My bad a little bit on this one. This really is something we should have taken last week, because when there was a whole fallout with Montano and she got stripped and who should Valentina fight next, that was one of the names that I was trumpeting out there. It was Katlyn Chookagian. But we'll catch up with her today and get her thoughts on all that. So it should be a fun show. Now, you can chime in and be a part of the show by calling 866-522-2846. Let's get your thoughts. It's all out there, man. Canelo Triple G, UFC Fight Night 136 in Russia, UFC Fight Night 137 in Brazil, whatever you like. The NFL, college football, it don't matter, man. Just call in and participate. And if you're nervous, you're afraid you're going to suck or whatever, hey, we've all sucked. I've called into many radio shows.
We suck.
And have sucked. And then over time, you just get more comfortable. So just make that first call, for crying out loud. 866-522-2846. Keep it brief. Just write a couple things down. That way you don't freeze when we get you on the line. And let's get you involved in the show.
Anybody got any balls to pitch to us?
No.
No?
What you mean? What you mean?
I don't know. Pitch some balls to us, Junkie Nation. Wait, don't get that drop, Danny. Don't get that drop.
I don't get what you're saying, though.
Any callers? Anyone ready to pitch?
Oh,
some
yeah,
balls
there's
to us?
two. There's two.
Oh, okay.
But I think I want to take a break first.
Okay.
And then we come
Yeah,
back
let's
and
do
we'll
it.
do the run of the calls.
Down for that.
So let's go to break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on the new Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Cowboy, yeah. Some call me the gangster of love.
Their fighting style is described as fluffy, but their radio style is on point. Here are George Goes and Dan.
After a great weekend of college football, the #1 place to hear about your school is on SiriusXM College Conference channels. Hear from your favorite Hear from your favorite team's coach and our analysts as they react to your school's Week 3 performance. It's all on SiriusXM ACC Radio Channel 371, SiriusXM Pac-12 Radio Channel 373, SiriusXM SEC Radio Channel 374, and streaming on your phone or at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. I get my notifications goes, and like 3 of them came up and blocked the read.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, all right. Let's talk to Junkie Nation. Let's get their thoughts on this weekend's action. All topics are on the table. Thank you all for participating. We got 3 horses ready to run. We'll start off with Brian in Boston. What's up, Brian? How you doing?
Good, boys. How are we doing today?
Good. How about you?
Good, thanks. Here's my biggest takeaway from the weekend, and I'm surprised you guys didn't touch on it on the opener, was Herb Dean's late stoppage on CB Dalloway. And I love this sport. I love the controlled brutality. But Herb should really be called on the carpet for that one. If that were a schoolyard fight, the gym teacher would have stopped that thing. So, 1, I don't know what Herb was looking at. 2, there's so much machismo in this sport that guys' corners don't throw in the towel. You see the towel thrown in a lot more in boxing than you do in MMA. So I don't know if it's some sort of unwritten rule in these camps that you never throw in the towel, but his corner knows that he's a 35-year-old veteran who's been in ring wars. He was not getting up from that, and he was looking for an out. Part of the corner's responsibility is save the fighter from himself. He's too tough for his own good to quit. They should have quit for him. And I don't know if refs can be suspended or fined or anything like that, but if Herb is going to ascend to the throne of best ref in MMA, because now that John does color commentary, he's got to get better. Because I thought it was brutal.
Man.
Okay. Who wants to go first? How about you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm glad too that you touched on that. That's my biggest takeaway. I mean, it really made me feel gross to watch, man. And I'd like to think that I have a good stomach for violence and a good ceiling for this kind of thing. If anything, we're a little numb to it, right, guys? We've been watching it so long. So if anything, we are armored to watch this. Herb's a great guy in person. He has a resume that is not perfect, but does speak for itself and should be respected. But this, I can't defend him at all. I'm glad that you were also kind of bringing up the corner because, again, it's something that corners don't do enough of, for whether it be the machismo, wiring, or any financial, or just the way the system is kind of strung together. I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, because when they came into the ring, they apparently were still trying to coax their fighter and talk him back into the fight, where at least from my standpoint, I would have been cursing out the referee and waving it off myself. So there's something that needs to be said about that. And then I guess last thing before I pass it to these guys about just the stoppage is it happens about a minute in, guys, is that knee that almost misses, but CB is already kind of gassed, and he gave his last kind of shot for offense, and his body language is bad, or his body language was kind of already bad in the fight. The fight wasn't exactly going his way, and he starts shelling and turtling, and that's not intelligent defense. And refs have gotten better about that, saying, hey, we know we've just putting your hands up has let the fight go on before, and we've seen that, right, guys, saying I'm okay, and maybe if it's a championship fight like a Weidman Rockhold, then which Herb Dean I believe refed as well, then maybe you can make an excuse. Though I believe at the time a lot of us were saying, okay, that was a little too far. I would have been okay with them stopping it in the 3rd, right, instead of letting it go to the 4th. And yeah, so just keep in mind it's about a minute long, and it almost was like Herb Dean wanted to hear him say it. Which is weird because it's like, what's going on there? Did you watch CB's past fights? Because again, his past coming to fights have been a bit controversial too, where people were accusing him of wanting a way out with the Hector Lombard fight, with the way it happened. I believe we were there live, guys, at UFC 222, where it was a late shot. Sure, I don't think any of us really are arguing that, but there was an argument as far as how CB reacted and stuff, and I'm not trying to call CB out. I think it falls more on the refs and the corner, but again, CB has put this body language out there. He's toward the end of his career. He doesn't, to your point, Brian, does not need to be taking this damage. So yeah, I can't defend Herb Dean there. Sorry, guys. Go.
I think body language is the perfect word in this scenario, because he He was covering up, and they were unanswered blows. But if you just look at the way like his legs were positioned, one was completely flat, the other one was bent. I mean, he just looked like he didn't want to be there.
He bellied down by choice?
Yeah, and like Herb, aside from being a great ref, he's also fought. So he needs to be able to recognize when a guy is just completely done. And I think he was... In those situations when George and I are watching a fight, you might get a like, what's he doing? What's he thinking? I had time to maybe say that 3 or 4 times. Like, is he crazy? I mean, it just kept escalating. I had never seen something like that before. It was really, really bad.
How close were you to Adrian Balboa? Stop the fight.
I was past that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. I have one of the longer thresholds. And when it comes to this, I also want to see it go as far as possible versus the early stoppage. Okay, a couple things. Brian, the formality for actually throwing in the towel is, as a cornerman, you got to alert the commission, either the other referee that's there or a commission official.
They're sitting right next to you.
Yeah, and they'll throw in the towel for you. If you do it, whether the referee may act on it, all right? Some commissions will allow that. Some referees will do it. But usually the referee is waiting to hear that from one of the officials. So we don't know for a fact that had started to happen. I don't think it did, but I just want anybody to know that officially that's what needs to happen. As a cornerman, you need to alert the official, the other official, or one of the commission officials to throw in the towel. And they'll stand up on the apron and yell at the referee and either throw in the towel or just wave the fight, you know. All right, so the other thing is, when somebody's down on their stomach, and let's say they're covering up, I think what happened early on was Herb saw that some of the punches were being blocked. So even though they're in a position where they're, what's the word, unintelligently defending themselves, actually it is kind of intelligent because he's blocking them. But what happened was, you're right, Dan, I had seen like kind of like a physical give up, you know, position of like, that's it. I just want to get out of here with less damage as possible, but I'm pretty much giving into this fight. I've given my best. Remember, CB also had some attempts at winning the fight, and it wasn't happening. But some of those were getting blocked. But along with blocking, you need to do something. You need to strip. You need to move. And he was kind of like in the same position blocking. And so that's the part where I think Herb got it wrong. Because had he been moving and he's still blocking and he's still giving up his back, then I don't have a problem with it. Because it looks like he's blocking and in the process just waiting for the right time to either grab a single or turn into him or do anything, right? In this case, he was blocking. A couple of them got blocked. But there was really nothing from the lower half of the body that told me, hey, I'm also trying to get out of this horrific position. And then all of a sudden, the punches that were getting blocked started raining in. And it didn't look good because, again, he was just a finished fighter. Boom, boom, boom. That's when the fight, I believe, should have been stopped. And that's me with the longer threshold as far as, like, what, you know, people can take. Others will say, hey, as soon as they're covering up, if they're not doing much right then and there, you know, then I'm okay with that. And I'll accept that, too. But I also thought he was late.
We feel your frustration.
Right. And then the last thing is, what can you do? Let's see how Herb reacts to it. Hopefully media's done with him. I thought about reaching out, but I also realized, well, Russia's a long way back, and I know there's a ton to talk about on Mondays. But let's see if we can do that to be fair. Let's see if he has a statement or anything happens. But what's going to be done, I don't know, because he's still one of the top 3 refs in the world.
Right.
Some will say the top, and that may have just been a bad day at the office or a bad moment at the office. So can you really suspend him? I don't know. But something needs to be done where, in this case, I think it's Ratner. He becomes the head of the commission, the UFC commissions themselves, sits down and says, can we have a conversation? Let's Skype and let's go through this and just tell me what you're thinking, just to make sure that he hasn't lost a step. Not that I don't think a referee can do that morally or ethically or anything, but just to see how he's communicating with them. And I think it would be anything. It would be a formality, and that would be it. And I'm sure you'd see Herb on a card this week because, again, he's one of the top guys. But I think the UFC or any commission, whoever's the commission, owes it to themselves to talk to these referees and just make sure, let's talk about whatever happened on Friday or on Saturday, and then we move on from there.
Yeah, and just add to your point real quick. I don't think Herb should have any money or fine. I'm not out for blood. Or Herb gives a lot of these referees do. It's a thankless job. They don't get a lot of money for it. I don't think Herb should have money taken out of his pocketbook. But I would like to see a public, apology to CB and a statement about that publicly. I feel he does owe that.
Thanks, Brian, for the call. We got to move on. It's time for Dennis in Kansas City. What's up, Dennis?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you? First
Good,
time
and you?
caller.
Thanks for calling in, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, after we see the Canelo Triple G fight this weekend. We obviously start hearing and seeing stuff with Mayweather again. Is that all just to stay relevant, or what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Okay. We talked about Canelo and Triple G earlier. I'm just going to say it was a great fight. Triple G got his first official loss. He had the draw before, and he lost, 4 belts to Canelo? I think 4 of them were on the line, so huge night for Canelo. Yeah. What a resume he's starting to put together. I would like to see it a third time. I don't think there was a robbery, and I think that sums up what everybody here thinks. As far as Mayweather, it's hard to trust him now because it seems like every time he does a video, whether it's with Conor or some sort of a post on Instagram or any form of social media, you just can't tell if he's serious or if he's trying to keep his name out there or what he's trying to do. I'll admit, I've started to hear from people that maybe something like that is in the works. And remember, they sold 4.4 million pay-per-views. If they only do 25% and an $80 million gate, if they only do 25% of that, it would still be 1.1 million pay-per-views and a $20 million gate, which would be outstanding. That said, I'm not that interested in the fight.
I'm not that interested in either. I think that's all he does is try and put out feelers to see where people are at with all this. I heard he spends a lot. He's got a lot of money, but I heard he spends a lot too. So who knows? Maybe he might.
Well, he's already blown through the $300 million. I don't think he's gonna get $300 million for fighting Pacquiao. But God, he needs to slow down or something, because you'd be the biggest goof ever if you blew through his money. Didn't he reach $1 billion?
I think so.
I think he was bragging that he reached $1 billion. Who knows, man? Dennis, thanks for calling, bud.
Dennis.
Great to hear from a new caller.
Yeah.
Nope.
And congrats to the Kansas City Chiefs. That was an epic game, and I think they're 2-0. But we got you this weekend, so be careful, Dennis. The Niners are headed towards Arrowhead. Rolly from Cali. What's up, Rolly?
What's up, man? How you guys doing?
Good, Vato. How about you?
Good, man. What a weekend, right, guys?
Yeah, man. I loved it.
Man, Triple G, and then we got Mark Hunt getting submitted, and then I was jumping giddy when I saw the press conference between Vanderlei Silva and Rampage, Rampage 4. I was so giddy. I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be a great fight, Axe Murder and Rampage, man. I'm so excited. But my question is for you guys. As you guys know, UFC went to Russia this weekend, and he actually got Mark Hunt got submitted. And what do you guys your thoughts after Mark Hunt getting submitted, and where do you think Mark Hunt should go after this? Because I'm looking at right now, it says that Mark Hunt is sitting on the UFC 8th on the UFC heavyweight thing, and it's, to me, like it is like murder, straight out like murder lane, because you got Junior Santos, you got Alistair Overeem, you got Alex, you got Francis Ngannou, you got Curtis, and you got Derek Lewis. I'm kind of giddy for, like, I wouldn't mind seeing Mark Hunt versus Francis Ngannou or Curtis Blades. That'd be a straight out a banger right there.
Well, I think he
just saw the Blades fight.
He kind of said it well himself. Like, I think he's realized that he's probably not going to contend for a title anytime soon.
Right.
He said, how about we just give the old man one more? I'm okay with that.
And he wants it in Australia, and it's one more to end the contract. I don't know if that ends his tenure in combat sports, but let's assume he does. Then whatever. Who would we do? Hey, I like Ngannou. If Ngannou comes up short against Blades, then I like Ngannou versus Hunt. That would be a fun fight. But if Blades wins, we just saw Blades and Hunt, so we don't need to see that one again. And I don't think Blades would fight Hunt, because Blades would want to. Sorry, if Blades even lost, I don't think he'd want to fight Hunt, because I think he already did that. And whoever wins, obviously, I think moves on from Mark Hunt. But let's go through the names here. I'm looking at the USA Today Sports / MMA Junkie rankings. Maybe a Volkov lost to Lewis. Lewis has already fought Hunt, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Alistair fought Hunt recently, and I don't know if he'd go back there again. And honestly, from the other thing is Hunt going to want to fight anybody that has ever been attached to any allegations or convictions or whatever you want to call them with PEDs, and he probably not again. So now who are we looking at? I mean, he's not going to fight Tai Tuivasa. That's his guy. Blagoy Ivanov, he technically is coming off a loss. Maybe someone like that.
Hey, if it's a send-off, maybe he can fight a guy with allegations, but not PED allegations. What about Greg Hardy? What's old Greg Hardy do? Let's send him to Australia for the old send-off.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We got to let some fights play out, but I think a banger coming off of a loss. I don't think Hunt will be too interested in fighting a wrestler. I mean, that Blades fight was not fun, and I just don't see him going down that road. Rolly. As far as, thank you for the call. As far as the video with Vanderlei, and that was intense, guys. That's the value of a good face-off. But God, were you not thinking that Rampage might just do something?
No, because
a shove, a hook.
I mean,
Vanderlei, that finger was right in his face. Even Scott Coker, I don't know if you heard, if you had it with volume up, and he was like, "Okay, guys, take it easy." You could even see that he was feeling that was a tense moment.
I feel like when it comes to those two, even though Vanderlei put him away twice, I just feel like Rampage getting that last one. I feel like more of the hatred comes from Vanderlei's side. I don't know. I feel like now Rampage is just kind of there, and he just shows up and he makes the mean face and he fights, but that's about it. I don't think he has like that crazy hunger that he used to have.
Yeah,
where I want to destroy this guy. Yeah. I don't think he has that anymore.
Kevin in Chicago, what's up, bud?
What's up, guys?
What's up,
man? So after that GGG Canelo fight, I won't complain about UFC corruption anymore. We got it good in the MMA world.
So you thought Triple G won?
Yeah, I didn't have a dog in the fight, but yeah, I thought Triple G clearly won. I was thinking at the end of the fight, all right, they ain't gonna rob him this time. There's no way they can rob him this time.
How'd you score?
But after listening to Max Kellerman, he set the narrative from the beginning. I should have known better. You see, from the beginning, Canelo, the story of the fight. Canelo, the story of the fight. That's all I heard. Him and Roy Jones. I just felt like they're not gonna. Canelo's a cash cow. Mexican Independence Day weekend. You got Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy behind him. There's not a chance in hell they're going to give GGG a decision. So, yeah, this is how it went. I feel like the Latino market is too powerful. They got a powerful market. Canelo's younger, huge star. I feel like that's what it comes down to. Kind of the same way Darren Till's got a huge market in England. It's similar here in boxing. They got a big Latino market here in America and Mexico. I think that's what it comes down to.
All right,
I mean,
for the jab, to the body work, I think GGG blocked most of those shots. If you looked, he had his arms real low. They were coming off the elbow. And body work is supposed to slow a guy down. That's why you go to the body, to slow him guy down in the end of the fight, to wear him down. But GGG picked up his pace, ended up fighting better in the later rounds. So I don't think he was even connecting real clean to the body. I think GGG was blocking most of those shots to the body. And that stiff jab, popping that stiff jab, I just thought there's no way he was going to rob him. They're going to rob him, but sure as hell they robbed him.
All right, Kevin, thanks for the call. By the way, how does he pull that off? GGG. That's smooth.
I don't know, but
GGG. I like that.
He
kept saying it. I was like,
shortcut for that.
Triple G is the shortcut for it, but he just kept saying GGG, and I kept thinking he's going to stumble, but he pulled it off. Good job, Kevin.
The papers.
Look, man, I don't know that it was a robbery. I think, look, us three watch fights quite often, and there's plenty of people out there that were in support of Canelo. It was close, bro. It was close. I think it was, like I said, 7-5 rounds either way, or 6-6 for the draw. I guess if you get into 8-4, and a lot of people had 8-4 or 9-3, then maybe you start saying that was a robbery. But I don't know. I've seen so many differing opinions. I just, yeah, I
I was
don't know.
confused by the body work because it seemed like Triple G was getting tired, but he wasn't acting tired.
I mean, the
Just
first
his
fight
face
was a draw.
tired. You know, he was breathing heavy, but he was still coming at a really big
body
pace.
shots almost woke him up in the middle rounds.
Yeah, some of them I mean, he's right. The elbow does like deflect, but there was still some that he absorbed.
Yeah.
Now I'll say this: did Canelo fight better in this fight than the first fight?
Yeah.
And did Triple G fight better in the first fight than the second fight?
No. I thought they both fought better.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought Triple G started off better in the first fight. I thought the second fight he didn't start off as well. But if the first fight was a draw and Canelo fought better, what's so crazy about Canelo getting the nod? I mean, I don't think it's that bad. All right, we got to take the second break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM's new Fight Nation Channel 93 channel. We'll be right back.
I get paid to say things in this cool voice, and they get paid to be lame. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Today is Fantasy Football Reaction Monday on Fantasy Sports Radio. Here, a complete recap of the week in fantasy football, and call in to talk about your team, whether you want to brag about a victory or need a shoulder to cry on in defeat. And if your game is still undecided, here a preview of tonight's Monday Night Football matchup between the Seahawks and the Bears. Live fantasy football, reaction right now on Fantasy Sports Radio, Sirius 210 XM 87, and streaming on your phone or at home on connected devices and speakers. Did you wind up doing fantasy football this year?
Nope.
No.
And I don't miss it.
Yeah?
No.
Okay.
I think I may retire.
Let's go to Dan in Oregon. Oh, he's gone?
And just dropped. Yeah, sorry about that.
Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's yo time.
What's going on, fellas?
Hi.
Not much, man.
Oh, man. Just another day out here on this rainy-ass East Coast in this bad weather.
Where are you at?
I'm in Pennsylvania, heading back home.
Oh, okay.
Well, just go
It's
through
wet.
Pennsylvania.
It's
There's
real
nothing
wet.
to see there.
A bunch of mountains. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I got a couple points I want to make. I actually had money on Triple G, but I felt like he let Canelo walk him down, man, the first portion of the fight, man. The old Triple G, you wouldn't have walked Triple G down some years ago. I think he may be losing a step as far as that. You know, he wanted people to walk him down. You actually couldn't pay a man to walk Triple G down about 3 or 4 years ago. So I think we basically seeing the demise of Triple G as far as that, because a guy would have been asleep trying to walk him down like that. He walked him down, man, the first half of the fight, and I actually think that played a part. So that's all Roy Jones. That's all they were talking about was how Canelo was walking him down. How he had Triple G jabbing and kind of on his bike a little bit. He came back and hurt him. Hit Canelo with some good shots later on in the fight, man. But I had money on it, and I don't. I didn't feel like he was robbed at all.
It's hard
That's
to
what
guess
happened
that.
when you let a guy
Showtime,
dominate the fight. Yeah.
because it's hard to guess that only because Canelo Alvarez is such a good fighter that I think maybe Triple G could have done that to just about anybody but Canelo. He hits so hard. He can take a really good shot. So I was kind of thinking the same thing you were. Like, is this guy losing a step? But then I remembered, well, this is Canelo Alvarez in front of him. It's kind of hard to judge him off of that.
Yeah, I mean, I still want to just see him lock up and just square off and not give ground and just go. That's why when you lose and you lose a decision like that, it's basically your fault. You had a chance to square right there in the middle of that ring and beat his ass right there in the middle and throw down. That's what I wanted to see. He basically gave Canelo. I could see Canelo gaining confidence every round as he was walking him down. I mean, he was gaining confidence. So the next fight, I'll pick Canelo. The next fight, if they fight again, I won't even put my money on Triple G. I think we seeing the last of Triple G.
Damn.
It was great while it lasted.
I might bet the draw.
I think we seeing the last of him.
One guy had it in a draw.
Let me get back. Yeah, nah, man. I bet it was Triple G. This coming from somebody that I bet money on Triple G both fights. So I'm not, I thought he was gonna stop him in the first fight.
Yeah.
So I got an unbiased, opinion on this. But let me get to this Herb Dean.
All right, say it quick. You got 30 seconds.
Like,
Tell me about Herb Dean.
I was just like, damn, come on, Herb, stop it. Man, it's time for CB Dollaway to throw in the towel, man. He quit, man. Mark Hunt quit, too. It's time for, both of those guys quit.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
I'll in tomorrow, man.
All right, thanks, Showtime. Be careful out there. Man, I think it's time for them to accept they won't be champions or top 10 fighters. But if someone still pays them good money, then as long as they keep passing them tests physically, keep doing your thing. We'll be right back for the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Stay close. we've been on point with the music today.
Hey, thanks, man.
Who chose it?
I did.
Did you?
Yes.
All right, good on you guys.
You've
All right.
scared Danny away from He no longer picks the song that starts the second hour.
Why is that?
You never like his pick for that particular.
You hate
slot.
all of my second hour picks, so I always make Goes pick it now.
So if I say I don't feel like picking music, he'll say, "Can you at least just do that song?" And
Something
agree
about
to do
the
that
second
one.
hour one?
Something about that slot, yeah.
Yeah.
Your tolerance level goes down for that one.
But usually when I go, who played that shitty song? You guys usually go, so-and-so from Junkie Nation. I go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know it was Danny.
Yeah, Danny usually gets crushed.
Okay. All right. Let's talk to our next guest. Our first guest of the day. Our first guest of the week. She's 11-1 overall. And hopefully we get to see her soon because in her division, there's been a shakeup. In the UFC women's flyweight division, 125 pounds, a week ago, 10 days ago, the UFC stripped the champion, Nico Montano, and because she wasn't able to compete at UFC 228, thereby leaving Valentina Shevchenko with no fight, and obviously she's at least one of the two that will fight for the vacant title. There's a few names that you could pencil in to fight Valentina, and I know a few of them have already started, throwing themselves into the mix. Katlyn was one of them. And I want to hear her side, and let's see if maybe she has a shot at being next. I think she's got quite the resume at both 35 and 25. Hi, Katlyn. How you doing? Welcome to MMA Junkie Radio.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. Thanks for joining us. You're on with George, Goes, and Dan, and we're really excited to have you on. Honestly, this is my bad. We should have done this about a week ago when it was the hot topic.
Yeah.
But
yeah, right.
But so much came out of 228, and we blew it. So here we are, and since then nothing's happened. They haven't booked anybody to fight Valentina Shevchenko. Tell me why it should be you, Katlyn.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what every flyweight's been petitioning for the past 10 days. Everyone's kind of been like, no, I should get it, But for me, I think if you're going to go with someone in the weight class, I think that I make the most sense. I'm ranked the highest besides Nico, you know what I mean? So I'm ranked the highest. I'm undefeated at this weight class. I've beaten I don't even know now what the rankings, but at least maybe four girls in the top 10 already. So I think, being undefeated at that weight class, I think it makes sense that I'm the next person in line for it.
I know that day when they were looking for an opponent, you kind of raised your hand, via social media. Would you have actually been able to make 25 and fight, or was it just, hey, look, I'll fight if we need a main event?
When they asked me if I could make the weight, it was around 10:45 a.m. and commissions close weigh-ins at 11 o'clock. So in 15 minutes, definitely not. I think that the UFC was asking me if I can make weight, and then maybe try to see if the commission would have made an exception. But especially in Texas, the commission's pretty tight, and on top of it, for females, we have to get a blood test for a pregnancy test, and that has to be done about 10 days before. So, I think even if I would have been able to make the weight, unfortunately, I don't think it would have been enough time to make the logistics happen. But I think that from what I heard later, that the ambulance came to the hotel around 7:30 a.m. I think at that point, pretty much when someone's going to the hospital, when there's an ambulance involved, they're out of the fight. They're not, you know what I mean? They're not coming back and making weight by 11. So, I'm not saying I definitely could have made weight, but if they would have told me when the ambulance came at 7:30, I definitely would have at least attempted to, see how low I can get. But obviously in a half hour, it's not possible.
Right. So let me ask you this. On the one hand, I applaud all you ladies. I think Montana De La Rosa and a few others are saying, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And I was like, look at that. These young ladies have guts, and they're willing to do it and put it on the line. And then when I chill out a little bit, I realized, I think to myself, well, hold on a second. Is it really the smartest decision? On the one hand, you'll get a lot of pats on the back. Thanks for saving the show, this, that, whatever. But when you fight for the world title, wouldn't you want to be at your best that day? You can't possibly be at your best on hours notice, 24 hours notice.
Right. Well, and the thing too is, Nico was the one with the title, and she was the one that got hurt. So if I would have got, put in, it might not have been at that short notice. It might not have even been for the title. It might have just been me fighting Valentina. So, because at that, she didn't get stripped from the title till the following day. So you don't even know if that would have been for the title. So I'm like, I want to go. I'm like, my coaches were like, well, even if you can make the weight, why don't you just not take it, get a full camp? You're probably there's a good chance you'll be next in line anyway with a full camp, and they're most likely going to strip Nico, and it'll be for the title. Yeah. I'm like, I don't care, I just want to fight. I think, especially being like a new division, where I don't think the rankings really matter that much, so everything's kind of up in the air. So I think that's kind of why most of the girls were even more like quick to jump on the occasion and be like, I'll take it, because rankings right now don't really mean anything because it's so new.
Right. Okay. Also, Sijara Eubanks, you beat her at 25, right? You were at 25 and then moved to bantamweight and then back to 25. Is that how it went?
Yeah. I've only fought at bantamweight 3 times, and that was in the UFC.
Do you feel like
4 times? One of.
Do you feel like you still have a hand to play there at bantamweight? How are you like divvying up as far as what fights you want to do at flyweight and which ones you may be interested in bantamweight? Only because you have a great record at both.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I had 3 fights at bantamweight, but I mean 2 out of those 3 fights the girls moved to flyweight. So I mean, I got kind of lucky with that. The short time that I was waiting for them to open up 25, I kind of got lucky with getting, I guess I don't know if they were at the time, but smaller opponents. But after fighting at 35, I'm definitely comfortable there. I think I'm more confident at 25. But so 25 is my main focus. But if I'm going like 6 months uninjured trying to get a fight and not getting something, I would be open to taking a fight at 35 just to stay active. But 25 is definitely my main focus.
Why can't you get a fight?
It's not that I'm a little like. I'm like, the second I get done, I'm like, I'm not injured. I want to fight. And unfortunately, when you get in like the top 10, some matchups are already made. There's only a few people you can fight. So you got to wait until some things play out. And I get a little impatient. I'm like, I just want to fight. If I'm not injured, I want to get as many fights in as I can. Ideally, if I could fight 4 times a year, that would be amazing. But you shoot for that. And then, hopefully you get 2 or 3 fights a year. But, I don't know. I think right now it's just kind of they're trying to figure out how to play out the division, and I think that's why it's taking a little bit longer. But I did fight. I only fought 6 weeks ago, so 6 or 7 weeks ago, so it hasn't been that long.
You want to hear my idea?
Yeah, maybe if it's something I like.
Oh, trust me, I know what's up.
Okay.
I think if you are gonna fight for the title against Valentina, then I think you and Valentina should petition to be on the same card as Amanda Nunes.
I know. It's funny. I was talking to a couple. I was talking to a couple of people about that today. They're like, they should do that just like a girl co-main and main event. I like the idea of that.
Right. And so here's what happens. All right. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to jinx anybody. I don't believe in jinxes, but I'm going to say it just because I know there's a lot of people that do. If something were to happen to Cyborg, then Amanda could defend against you. I don't think they would give Valentina another shot just because they just did it, It's nothing against Valentina, but then your 2-1 record as a bantamweight, at least I think one could say, okay, yeah, let's run it with her because Raquel just recently lost. And I know the Brazilian chick, she might not dig that, but whatever. If something happens to Amanda, then I think Valentina might be nutty enough, or maybe even you, to move up and fight Cyborg. You see what I'm saying? So there's a little bit of like insurance policies that can kind of be played there. And that's what I'm looking for on every pay-per-view is some sort of protection, because this card in Dallas should have had protection with another flyweight, 2 flyweights that are top-notch to ensure if anything happens with Nico Montana or Valentina Shevchenko, and I think the UFC needs to learn from that. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. I mean, they definitely need, I'm sure everyone agrees that after what happened in Dallas, it's pretty obvious you need to have at least another fight. If you're not going to pay, like I understand the bigger fights, like they're paying Usman to be on deck. If you don't want to do that, then just put someone else on the card for insurance policy.
Right.
Like that makes the most sense, and everyone's happy. You know, I'm sure whoever's on that card and trained for a fight would be, you know, eager to jump up and make, you know, take it in short notice because they're already trained for a fight and they're already on weight.
Yep. Katlyn Chookagian's our guest.
I like the idea of that.
On MMA Junkie Radio, 11-1 overall. She's 2-0 since moving up to flyweight again. And by the way, on Twitter, give her a follow at Blonde Fighter. Let her know you heard her on the at MMA Junkie Radio show. Let me turn it over to the co-hosts here, Goes and Dan. All right, Goes, you go first. What do you have for Katlyn Chookagian?
Well, Katlyn, that was going to be kind of my question, that insurance policy. A, had you been given that spot the same way Kamaru Usman was given it to train for the possibility of a fight, would you have taken it? And B, a second part to that question, what do you feel like the compensation for something like that should be, percentage-wise?
I mean, if you're not going to actually, what's the compensation just for being on deck, like being the insurance policy? I mean, I guess it's something, might depend on, like, the stakes of the fight. I mean, if you're jumping in, too, for a 5-round fight on short, you know, if you're going to be in insurance for a 5-round fight, you should be getting a little bit more than if you're just jumping in for a 3-round fight. You know what I'm saying? Because that's almost double the amount of fight. But if they definitely would have offered that, I would have 100% took it up. I mean, to me, that's easy money. It's just, I just got to make sure I make weight, because for me, I'm always training anyway. So it's like, wow, I'm actually getting paid to train, you know? But if they would offer that, you know, I'd definitely take them up on that. You know, I'm training anyway, so even if it's just insurance policy, you get paid to make weight, I don't care. You know, it doesn't have to be that much for me to do that.
You know, it's happened a couple times now where they have done something like that, and you said if they were to offer it to you, you would take it. But have things kind of gotten to the point where now you think maybe fighters will start to offer their services for that role?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know that was, like, an option that I could even, you know, put out there until, like, the whole Usman situation. If I would have known that, I would have maybe tried to, like, have my managers talk to them and be like, hey, I'll be on deck, you know. Who knows, this girl, like, Nico's been having, like, health issues. Who knows if she's going to take it. I'm sure Valentina would have been up for that. You know, if I'm fighting for a title, I want an insurance policy because I don't want to train for the whole fight and then not be able to fight.
All right, Dan, Tom, what do you have for Katlyn?
In the future.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Katlyn. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say, in the future, I'm definitely up for that. If I'm not getting the actual fight, you know, I'm going to definitely petition for me to be, like, the backup for that.
Okay. Dan, what do you have for Katlyn Chookagian?
Hey, Katlyn, just want to say I really dig your style, especially, you know, as far as on the feet, the high-volume striking. Obviously, you have the jiu-jitsu credentials as well. But, you know, I read on your UFC profile that you started karate when you were 4 years old. Can you tell me a little bit about that and who maybe influenced you, or was that just something you decided at a young age?
Yeah, I have an older brother. He's 4 years older than me, and he did karate. So growing up, I was always in the gym. And when I turned 4, you know, my parents signed me up just kind of for discipline or whatever, and I just stuck with it. Whatever it was, I was obsessed with it. As a kid, I, like, played other sports. You know, I did soccer, gymnastics. I played field hockey in high school, but karate, and then I turned into kickboxing and boxing in high school. That was always, like, my main focus. I always enjoyed that more. I liked the other sports because it was my friends were doing it, but I was obsessed with it, you know. I was competing in karate tournaments when I was, like, 6 and 7 years old, like, obsessed. I had, like, hundreds of trophies in my basement. But, you know, my parents definitely signed me up for that, and I don't think they expected me to stick with it, and it ended up being here, but they definitely pushed me in that and supported me there.
That's awesome, and you know, obviously you can't deny wrestling as a great base for mixed martial arts. But I personally enjoy seeing, you know, and it's more common these days, but seeing people build that base off of karate and that in and out movement. Now, obviously, you put, you know, kickboxing, like you said, boxing. You're under good hands. You're under good hands over there in the New Jersey area. But let me ask you, as you built your career, you know, George touched on it earlier. You got some key wins. He mentioned Sijara Eubanks, but even if you go back to your amateur career, you even armbarred Andrea KGB Lee. Now, those two fighters in particular are, and, you know, like you said, it's a pretty wild west. It's a pretty open market right now. It's an exciting time at 125, and those are arguably two important matchups. You have Jessica Ai facing Sijara Eubanks and Jessica Rose Clark facing Andrea Lee. Would you mind maybe giving a breakdown or maybe a loose prediction on those matchups if you have an opinion?
Yeah, I think that for the Jessica Rose Clark and Andrea Lee, I think real fans of women's MMA that have been following it outside of UFC kind of are on the radar for Andrea Lee and know how good she is, and she's a very popular fighter from Invicta. I think she might be overlooked just because the past year Jessica Rose Clark has kind of been like a fan favorite and promoted a lot from the UFC. But I think that Andrea Lee's striking is and her wrestling is a little bit more aggressive, so I definitely think she'll win on that fight. And then the Jessica Eye and Sajara Eubanks, I think that's a really exciting matchup. I think they're both really well-rounded. I train with Sajara. I think that with her background in jiu-jitsu, I think that that's an advantage in that fight. And also now working with Mark Henry and stuff, I think she's getting more improved in her striking. So, becoming an overall like well-rounded MMA fighter. So, for that fight, I think she has the advantage. Although I think that fight's a pretty close fight. I think that's going to be entertaining no matter which way it goes.
Katlyn, one last thing here. For anybody that's listening and they're a fan of Alexis Davis and Liz Carmouche, because, like, as we've noted in this interview, a lot of the female flyweights are already tied up. And Roxanne Modafferi has already fought for the title. So leaving her out, I think she would probably need one more win maybe before she can compete. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. What would you say to those that say, well, maybe Alexis or Liz ahead of Katlyn?
I think, Alexis definitely not because I just beat her.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, she beat me in a split decision at 35, but, if we're going, that's a different weight class. It's a split decision. I have more wins I beat more girls in 125 than she has. So, I think that's my easy argument for me to get that title shot over her.
Yeah, and it's like a round robin. You all beat each other, except Liz's win was technically as a bantamweight. So it's interesting. This thing's going to go down to the wire. So I'm glad you took the interview. We got to hear you, plead your case and state why it should be you. And again, I thought it was huge that you were willing to fight that day, to maybe save the card. And I think that usually scores points with the promotion as well. So hopefully you get it. Hopefully you get that fight versus Valentina. And if not, whatever fights you have upcoming, we'd love to speak to you beforehand. So thank you very much for joining us here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. See ya.
That is Kaitlyn Chookagian. Follow her on Twitter @BlondeFighter. All right. Let's take a break because Sam Alvey's ready to go. And we're going to be calling international to get a hold of Sam. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show on the new Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Get the radio channel numbers and a link to listen to your favorite NFL, college football, or Major League Baseball team sent right to your smart device. Just go to SiriusXM.com/sports today. Once you're there, click Add to My Calendar. All right, we're trying to connect with Sam Alvey right now. Producer Danny is taking care of that. So we'll talk to him in just a sec. And in the meantime, let me give you some of the specifics from the card that just took place in Moscow, Russia. It was tagged UFC Moscow or UFC Fight Night 136. 22,603 were in attendance. The gate was 1,840,000. The fight bonuses went as follows. Fight of the night went to Peter Yan, and that's it, 50 grand. Jin Soo Sun was unable to receive the bonus due to missing weight. In the past, they've doubled up on the guy. And
On the other guy.
I know Mark Hunt was the recipient of that when him and Bigfoot shared a bonus. And so they doubled up on Mark Hunt. It's happened a few times. And in this case, they said, nah, you're just getting the 50. And we're going to give the other 3 the performance of the night. I kind of like that. Don't you?
I'm a big fan of consistency, but the one thing you can say is new owners, maybe that's the way we roll, right?
Another thing you can say is that the UFC is inconsistently consistent. Or
That's
consistently
true.
inconsistent.
Yeah,
no, that's
true.
the one, yeah.
That's true. I'm with you. I'd rather see consistency. I don't necessarily hate them giving it to another guy, but riddle me this, guys. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a little too kind-hearted, but if that happened to me, especially if it was like, you know, there wasn't any beef and it was only by a pound, the guy was stepping up last minute to help me out. Sure, there was a lot of bravado, but that was part of his fight style. It wasn't personal. Like, they were there to have a good fight. It was all business. If I was Peter Yan and they doubled me the bonus, I would have to. I feel like obligated to do more than buy that guy a beer. I feel like I would kick him some money. I don't know why, you know, and I remember Tyron Woodley denied the bonus when he fought Kelvin Gastelum and said, I remember in the post-fight, interview, he was like, I've been crying because I couldn't pay bills on the table, and I remember that was one of the major points where I gained a lot of respect for Woodley. But yeah, man, it's a weird precedence for things. I don't know.
So if they give you the 100 grand,
yeah.
So let's say it was you and Goes missed weight. They give you the 100 grand. How much would you give more? How much more than a beer would you give Goes?
I feel like I would. I honestly feel like I would give. It's probably too much, and people probably slap me for it. But I would say between 5 to 10 grand of that extra 50,000. I'd give to that person. To their team, them and their team.
That's a solid number.
You know what my measuring stick was?
What?
About like a 70-inch flat screen or something, which would probably be maybe 2 at the most. So I would have been ecstatic.
Ecstatic with 10 to 5. I think that that's a good number. I can't argue with that. That's 10 to 20%. And somehow, I think it might cycle around, and maybe I might catch a break.
Karma.
It doesn't do much for you. I mean, it's not like they're going to make any, legislative decisions on the UFC side that'll benefit your career. You're helping an opponent, but hey, what if a fight breaks out and they're on the same card? They're going to have your back, them and their team. But hey, we got this guy's back.
Yeah. All right. Here's a couple other winners while we get our guest. Khalid Murtzaliev defeated CB Dalloway. So that fight we talked about a little bit. That's the one that had the controversial stoppage with referee Herb Dean, or lack of, I guess.
He beat him a couple times.
Yes. Peter Yan defeated Jin Soo Sun. So that's where Yan got his 50 Gs. Rustam Kabalov defeated Cajun Johnson. And I'll tell you what.
Close fight.
Cajun, I know they're just waiting for him to go on a losing streak so they can kind of be done with. He's another one that's an advocate for the association/union talk, and I guess he's like the vice president to the outfit that Leslie Smith is organizing. But Cajun Smith made it a fight. He would not go away. He was tough on the feet. He was tough on the ground, and I thought he was real close to pulling off the split decision win, but they gave it to Rustam Kabalov. Kabalov had his hands full. Kabalov's now 8-2 as a lightweight. Mairbek Tisimov is 7-1 in the UFC, but these guys just can't seem to make noise. Now Tisimov's got his hands; he's handcuffed a little bit because of those visa issues. In fact, he's saying he might retire, but he defeated Desmond Green. I thought Desmond Green might actually have a shot to win the fight, but it turns out it was 30-27 across the board. By that I mean, had he won the third, I thought maybe he could steal a 29-28. The other winners were Magomed Ankalaev, excuse me. Jordan Johnson, who dropped to middleweight, he defeated Adam Yandalev, who is a stud over at M1. He was coming over some hype. Ramazan Emiev defeated Stefan Sukalik, and Merab Davishvili defeated Terrion Ware. Did I just knock it out of the park with Davishvili?
Yeah, you might have. Yeah, that was good. I was going to say, that's good, man.
Shout out to myself. I thought I nailed that one there. Fantastical. Danny, what's the update on Sam Alvey? I see the hotline lighting up, but nothing's going down.
Are you sure this number's right?
The hotel or the room number?
Both. I've called at least 6 times now. I've gotten 3 different people. None of them spoke any English whatsoever. And they just hang up on me or put me on hold.
Do you want to try it with me on the line, and I'll try it with my 1 out of 10 Portuguese?
Well, the last 3 times, no one's picked up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But the first 3 times while we were over break, 3 different people picked up, and they either put me on hold or just hung up on me.
Did they answer with the hotel number? All right, hotel name, like ABC Hotel. What can we do for you?
No, they just they said hello, and I thought maybe they spoke English, but they didn't after that. They just said hello.
That's got to be a wrong number.
He told me it was this hotel in Brazil.
Sam Alvey.
I don't know what to do. Can you try it with me? All right, wait. Here's another one. I'm gonna send you one more. Oh no, that's the address. Try it with me on the line if you don't mind. Right? We can do whatever we want on the show.
I mean, I have to call it first before I can transfer over. So
okay.
Give me a second.
All right. Well, we'll do that if we fail here, and I'll have to let Sam know we just can't seem to connect.
Interesting.
Let me tell him right now. They keep hanging up on us. All right, let's see here.
All right.
It's ringing?
Oh, crap. I can't transfer it over until it actually connects. Hold on.
Okay, you got to be quick, Danny.
Yeah.
A good producer could do it.
I'm physically touching the button on the board, and it won't transfer over until they pick up.
Well,
I hear him clicking right now. This is really great. I picture beads of sweat dripping down Danny's nose.
This defines Danny's career right here with us. If he gets it, he goes to another level. I would actually, like, he would become white belt. We would put a blue belt around his neck.
George,
they're on. George, they're on.
Oi, tudo bem? Hello?
Olá?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Você fala inglês?
I don't know, sir.
Okay, are you the Pestana Hotel in Sao Paulo?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm calling room 914, Sam Alvey. Por favor, pode conectar Sam Alvey, número 914.
Okay.
Eu sou seu amigo aqui nos Estados Unidos.
Okay. Just a moment, okay? Your name?
Sam Alvey.
914?
914. 914.
Okay, just a moment.
Muito obrigado.
Just pleasure.
Okay, let's see how this goes. We are on hold for Sam Alvey.
Yeah, you did that.
You might want to check your notes.
Check my notes? What do you mean?
Yeah.
What are my notes? Oh, no.
Sir?
It won't work. Yes.
What's your name?
Excuse me?
What's your name, sir?
Sam.
What's your name?
Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey.
Okay, just a moment.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, am I wrong? That was the hardest thing ever.
Let's see here. If Sam answers, I'm a god.
I think they knew Danny had blue hair. That was the problem.
Come on, Sam. If you don't answer, I ain't gonna be smiling.
Housekeeping.
Sam?
Hello?
Sam?
Yes, hello.
Yes, we did it. Oh, it's
we made it happen. By we, I mean you.
welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. I had to call upon my terrible Portuguese to get us through there because they were hanging up on the producer earlier, and finally we were able to make it happen.
Better than me, I only know cuss words.
Which ones do you know?
The ones they chant, the Via Moher and the Bayamantaku. I think they mean you're going to die and go after yourself. I'm pretty sure that's what they mean.
Okay, I know that the first one is you are going to die. I didn't know about the second one.
Okay.
All right. How's it going there, man? Sam, big news out there with Manua falling out. Were you ever in the running for that? Did they ever come to you?
Nope, nobody came to me. Honestly, I probably would have said no. I'm so ready for my fight with Little Nog that I don't think I'd be game to go like that to change. It wouldn't be changing weight classes, but it'd be fighting somebody from another weight class. But I'm happy to. This fight interests me too. The Eric Anders fight. It's a shame Manua is out, but if they had to find a last-minute replacement, they found a good one.
Yeah, they sure did. And I'll tell you what, I guess because you've been in the sport for so long, I mean, sure, it would have been the main event, but like you just finished saying, hey, you're fighting a legend too.
Yeah, and he's on my vengeance tour list. He beat my coach Hendo, and so now I've gotta get some vengeance.
Man, that was like 15 years ago. You're holding on to that?
He wasn't on my list until he got offered to me. I didn't know that he had fought Hendo even. So I was looking through it. Oh wow, look at that.
All right.
But that's telling you a difference between Hendo and I. In my Dan Henderson's 5th fight, he fought Little Nog. In my 50th fight, I'm fighting him. So Hendo is just a league of his own, and he always has been.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, man. Don't ever cross Sam Alvey. He holds on to a grudge for a while there.
That's a long time.
It is, huh?
Yeah. Don't cross my friends.
Don't cross your friends. That's true. That's true.
I could picture him going to Dan afterwards and going, I got that one back for you. And Dan saying something like, did we fight?
I got you, Doug. What are you talking about? Little Nog. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Thanks, Sam. You got me. Who's out there with you, by the way?
Right now, it's just my wife and my kid, and one of my kids. And then here in I think on Thursday or Friday, Joe Daddy Stevenson and then Dan Henderson himself will be out here to corner me.
Oh, okay. That's cool. That's awesome. Sam Alvey.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this.
Sam Alvey, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He will be facing Antonio Rogerio Nogueira out at UFC Fight Night 137, also known as UFC Sao Paulo. All right, Goes, what do you have for Smiling Sam?
Smiling Sam, so we've always heard about new teammates going over there, helping you out. But a new coach in Joe Stevenson, a name from the past, and I heard he's been doing some pretty good things out there. Can you talk about the influence that he's had on your career?
Oh, this has been the first camp that I've had training with him. He replaced our old jiu-jitsu instructor at the gym, and bring a little bit more MMA to the table for this fight. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how we mesh in the corner. My faithful corner, Britt, she's been in every corner for 50+ fights, and so she'll be there to make sure everything stays cool. But it'll be fun to have a new face, a new voice in my corner.
Your corner has always been very cerebral. They're one of the funnest corners to listen to during the fights. In preparation for Little Nog, watching his boxing, the way he moves, I know you can't tell us what you've seen, but can you at least point us in the right direction? Have you seen some holes there that you think maybe your striking can capitalize on?
I sure hope so. If I saw the wrong thing, the fight's not gonna be nearly as much fun as I'm hoping it is. But no, it's kind of an advantage and a disadvantage for having as many fights as he has, and myself. There's a lot of footage to watch. So you get to see how he adapts to different opponents. It's been a few years since he's fought a southpaw, but he's fought southpaws and it's on TV, and I fought southpaws and it's on on TV on the internet. And we'll really be able to. I'm sure he did, but I know I think I put together a real good game plan, real good camp to help counter all the strengths.
All right, we got our fight analyst Dan Tom here with us. Dan, what do you have for Smiling Sam?
Hey, Sam. You're just staying on the topic of southpaws. I saw Dominic Reyes pop up in one of your photos. Is he one of the southpaws you've been helping you get ready for this fight?
Yeah, Dom. He's been working with Joe Stevenson for about a year and a half, 2 years now. And so when Joe came, Dom came, and he and I we've been working a lot together. Even he's got a big fight coming up against the southpaw, so I've been helping as much as I can with that as well. And I told him I'm going to get through this fight as unscathed as I can to get back and help him finish his camp up strong.
Awesome. Well, I believe the last time you fought a southpaw Brazilian in Brazil, it went pretty well for you. Do you kind of build off that, or do you just kind of scrap that? That was a different fighter. We had a whole new game plan for Little Nog.
It's a whole new game plan. I've always been pretty loose with my game plans. At the end of the day, my goal is to beat him up. That's every fight, any fight. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try and beat him up. I'm going to hit him harder and more often than he hits me, and I'll win. It's just the way it works. But we've been playing with little game plans my last few fights, and I think they've been going well. And I think I'm ready to go out and really implement this one.
Now, staying on that topic, the flexibility of having that game plan, being able to do things. You spoke about it last time, and you credited a lot of it to not having to cut the weight. You've been able to address, things that criticisms like volume and activity. Is that still the case as you're getting ready for this fight? Have the benefits from what you're feeling, seeing in the training rooms and in sparring? Is that only continuing to go trend upwards, Sam?
I sure hope so. In my head and in the practice room, I'm getting better every day. Sometimes I get on that fight, and it's always been a problem, man, is that I don't throw high volume. I'm very low volume fighter. I think I had the lowest punch count in any 5 fights or something. It was something like that. And I've been working on it, and I'm hoping I go out there and what I've been working on comes through. There's always a chance it doesn't. But I really think I've done everything in my power to make sure I'm throwing, big combos instead of little ones.
Sam,
but who knows? Maybe it'll be the first punch of the combo that lands, and maybe that's all I'll need.
All right. Sam Alvey is our guest here. He fights Rogerio Nogueira at UFC Fight Night 137 in Sao Paulo on Saturday. All right, Sam, thank you very much for the time. But one more thing here. I know you're big on the call-outs. You already have yours ready, and will it be beneficial towards you, or are you going to do this Dan Henderson revenge whoop-ass tour? And if so, who's next, Ricardo Arona or Kazuo Misaki?
I'm not at liberty to say who I'm calling out just yet. I got to win that fight and then let everyone know. But I think I've got a good one. I think everyone's going to like it, and I think it's going to happen. Maybe it'll even happen in Milwaukee, Wisconsin this year. We'll see.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, we look forward to Saturday's fight. It's always a treat to watch you go out there. You always put it on the line. You always entertain. It looks like you're having fun, and all that's contagious, my man, as a fan and as a member of the media. So thanks again for the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir.
All right. Take care. All right. There you go. Sam Alvey. We made it happen. Danny and I. Right, Danny? We were a team there.
Teamwork, for sure.
It was a joint effort. All right. What's so funny?
Do you sound like the guy from Untouchables?
Yeah, teamwork. teamwork, yeah. But let's just say it had to go 60-40 on getting that interview to happen. Who would it be, me 60 and Danny 40, or Danny 60 and me 40?
All I know,
probably it's you on the line.
Here, it'd be you 60 and him 40, but here's how it evens out to 50-50 because Danny laid out the logistics of what you were asking, And not only did you say go for it anyways, full steam ahead, you gave the captain's orders.
Right.
But then you were almost taunting Danny to where it felt like the beginning of Die Hard, where the two brothers are cutting the phone lines to the building, right?
Yeah.
The guy with the glasses, Carl, is trying to clip the phone line, and you're the older brother, right? Alexander Goodenough, you come with the chainsaw and you're cutting it, and he's trying to clip the wires. Like, come on, I'm not done yet. Hold on. And you're like, oh, we're going, baby, we're going. And he's sweating, beads of sweater dropping down. And Danny had to switch the call. Like, that's what it felt like.
I don't understand how the guy didn't understand you. Like,
yeah, Danny, that guy kind of spoke a little bit pretty good English. He wasn't that bad.
It wasn't even that. I guess what I was trying to say was it's more that he just didn't believe me. Like, you heard how many times you had to be like, no, really, we're trying to reach this person at this. You know what I mean? Like, he just kept putting me on. The first 2 times, I got a different person each time, and they were like, oh, yeah. And then they would put me on hold for like 2 minutes, and I'm like, I can't sit here on hold and wait. I don't even know if they're going to come back. Like,
well,
and so I was
today you earned your purple belt, because I felt like when we hung out there in New York, you were with me every single step of the way. When we were on our Rick Budo tour, we went out and scouted the location out there for Samsung, and so Danny earned his blue then. I just didn't tell him. Today he earned his purple belt.
You should change your hair to purple, Danny.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll mix in a little bit of purple.
Yeah, good job, Danny. All right,
Yeah, Danny.
I think we should squeeze in one more break, right? We got one more to go? Let's do that. Let's take in this last break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on the new Fight Nation Channel 393, sorry. And we'll be right back to close up shop.
They're so fat, they gave Dracula diabetes. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
After a great weekend of college football, the #1 place to hear about your school is on the SiriusXM College Conference channels. Hear from your favorite team's coach and our analysts as they react to your school's Week 3 performance. It's all on SiriusXM ACC Radio Channel 371, SiriusXM Pac-12 Radio Channel 373, SiriusXM SEC Radio Channel 374, and streaming on your phone or at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. All right, it's time for our daily debate. And it stems from the fight card out in Moscow, Russia, except it has nothing to do with a fight that happened in the cage. It was more of a little tussle between former UFC flyweight champion, strawweight champion, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and a member of the media who we believe to be Russian, and things got a little out of hand. But I'll tell you what, let's stick to this debate and then we'll play the audio. Is that what we're doing, guys?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. All right, so here we go. The question is, what do you make of Joanna Jędrzejczyk's shaming a reporter who asked her a quote-unquote stupid question about Conor McGregor? Your choices are simple, guys. It was uncalled for, or he had it coming. All right, Dan, you go first.
This is tough. I never like seeing anybody dressed down in public for, doing what is essentially part of their job, even if they do it poorly. There is a certain line, But there are two things. One, the guy went up on his own accord when she invited him, and two, if you watch the whole thing through, he did he did make her repeat a question. She was ready to go already before he even came up to ask her a question. So in other words, the fighter was pretty much done and doing him a nice nod by even staying, and he had a really weird question beforehand with asking, do you like Russian men? So I think those things stacked the argument against the guy. I never like again, it's uncomfortable seeing anybody get dressed down. I didn't like seeing that, but I'll vote he had it coming.
Goes.
I'm going to vote he had it coming too. But Dan's right. Like, I don't like seeing that. I don't think things can get better that way. I think we're always going to be in a situation where you're going to have to learn something the hard way. And I would just always want that if I'm that person in that situation, that somebody take the time to explain it to me.
Mm-hmm.
However, on his side, in doing what we do, there is a lot of signs that you have to look for. And I felt like in that interview, there were a lot of moments. You have to know your surroundings and you have to know your people, right? And she had already been asked the question. She had already kind of said, I like them both. Me doing this for what we do, for as long as we do, if I hear that, I don't ask that question because I know what the answer is going to be. And just the way he phrased the question, like, what did he really expect her to say? I thought he acted well. She's not going to say that. So in a way, he is setting her up, right? But these are just questions that get asked. They get asked in pro football. They get asked in baseball, basketball. So on Joanna's side, I think she just has to come to an awareness that this is part of her job. And it's what's going to happen. Yeah. I don't think it should burn her the way it did every single time, right? But that
sounds like you're starting to go over to what was uncalled for.
No, because he knew what he was getting into.
Okay.
He knew what he was doing. And again, there were signs that she probably wasn't going to answer that the way he wanted to. And so it's on him.
Yeah, I thought it was uncalled for. I like your point about he had asked her. So you could tell he was headed towards the TMZ route of maybe something quick, like sensational headline.
Mm-hmm.
He said, look, we're always asking guys about Russian women. I just wanted the opposing view of what do you think of Russian men. So maybe he was trying to be cute. Who knows? But he did circle back to that one question about who do you like between the Conor and Khabib. First, tell me your thoughts on the fight. She talked about how big it's going to be. And then, of course, she said, but I'm not going to give a prediction because I said it earlier. So, yeah, you do have to watch the whole thing. It's 7 minutes long. What I want to know is, when she was about to leave, could he have just arrived, thereby missed the early part? Because I've been in that setting. Goes, you've been in that setting. Dan, you've started to show up to a few scrums now, where if you're at another scrum or you're somewhere else and you just arrive, you kind of want to go, hey, what'd they just say? So you don't ask the same question. Remember we went through that at Bellator?
Yeah,
we weren't
sure.
There was a few things we wanted to ask Scott. We weren't sure, and we had Mike and John there, so we knew that they more than likely had it covered. So I'm thinking, okay, that's a possibility. Two, he didn't really finish his question. He started to say, after she said, I'm not going to give an opinion on the fight as far as who's going to win, he started to say, what are your thoughts on his misbehavior? Now, at that point, she said, are you gonna insult Conor McGregor right here? No, it's just a question. And it's a question that's been asked to other fighters. It's a question that's been asked to us, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. That was a big, big incident. There's lawsuits coming out of it. It changed around, a card that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
One lady, Rose, is psychologically having trouble, figuring figuring out what she's going to do next. She can't leave the house. So it was major news. I didn't think his question was that out of line, honestly.
But when he asked
for her
it,
to say that and pull him in and go through all that, once I took a look at him, I couldn't tell. I looked at a kid that was young, had his sweater on, he looked dressed, he's trying his best to connect in English, and I think he needs the benefit of the doubt in terms of we don't know where he was headed. Because he could have said, what do you think of the behavior of Conor McGregor, and did the UFC possibly did they act accordingly to how you would expect a fellow fighter? I don't know. You know, right, or he may have said something like, do you think he's an asshole or a dipshit? We don't know. We don't know where he's headed. And she just grabbed him and punked him like that. And I thought, that's not right.
This is how you know. When he asked the question, did you go, I wonder what her answer is going to be? Or did you go the way most people did? It was meant for you to do this. He's going to put her in a tough spot right now. Let's see what happens. We all know what she thought of it. There's no way she sat there and thought, it was awesome, I hope he does it again. Okay. There's no way. He's setting her up for something. The problem is he's doing it kind of within the rules, right? And she shouldn't overreact that way.
We don't know. And the reason we don't know is when Rose was asked, hey, how did that affect you? Did you go, more than likely she can't leave the house? No, it probably shocked you when you heard it. You had to hear it from her for you to go, wow. She took it different from Carolina, who said, that shit happens in Poland all the time. I ain't tripping. You see what I'm saying? So I thought it was worth it to find out, well, what's Joanna's opinion? And I don't know. Then I think it was within that same scrum when they asked her about Nico Montana. She said, that's unprofessional. She had an opinion there, and she leveled another fighter there, a fellow champion or former champion, because she's not in that fraternity anymore. So I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe the champs do want to look out for each other. It's tough. Every word is scrutinized and things like that. But then there's other times where it's like, man, that's your job. You know, like the guy asked you a question. Do you really need to thump him like that? I don't know. I don't know the history of that guy. Could be that he's a jerk. But I thought at that moment all that was unnecessary. What he could have done was go, I'm okay, and just stayed back. But maybe he's
a young guy.
Moment. Yeah,
we can all agree on that. And I feel like some of us have put in enough time where even if we are out of line, sometimes the fighter knows you well enough and your reputation follows you enough that fighter will give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe give you a pass. In this case, she wasn't able to do that. He was a young guy. You learned your lesson in front of a lot of people. That's the part that sucks.
YouTubers, podcasters, let us know what you think. Hit us up at MMA Junkie Radio, at Dan Tom MMA, at MMA Junkie George, at The Goes. I got a feeling this is something we can talk about all week, but there you have it. There's our daily debate brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team. All right. We got to get out of here. Damn, we don't have time to play that thing. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. All right, that's our show for today. Thank you to Kaitlyn Chookagian. Oren Hodak lined that up. Goes, give him a shout out.
Hello, Oren.
And the other interview was Sam Alvey. I lined that one up, so shout out to myself. Tomorrow, Goes, what do you got on tap? You don't want to jinx it? You're working on it?
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it.
All right, so you got to tune in.
But it might be an in-studio guest.
Tomorrow with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. For Danny and Dan and Goes and me, have a nice day. Go out there and be a champion.